This is the HTC First, and this is a Facebook phone. But wait, wasn't there a Facebook phone before? And it just flopped, and it just got left on the street, nobody cared about it. So why would they make another one of these things? That is a good question. But it looks like that Facebook wanted to make a launcher to put Facebook first when you open your phone, and to promote Facebook. Well, it makes sense. They're Facebook. They want to promote themselves. And it looked like they wanted to partner with HTC again on their phone. But they made this launcher available on different phones. The Galaxy S4, the HTC One. And that move didn't really make any sense. Why would you want to buy this phone if you can get this launcher somewhere else? Is this phone going to succeed, or is it going to fail again? My name is Danny, and this is my review of the HTC First. The great thing about this device is it's manufactured by HTC, and they know how to build a device. It is very minimalistic, and on the left side you will just see volume rocker switches. On the bottom you will see just speaker that is machine drilled, and you will see a little bit of tagging on the back, HTC, Facebook, AT&T. And on the other side you see nothing besides the micro SIM slot, and on the top you see the 3.5mm headphone jack and the power button. And this whole thing is pretty slim. I mean, it's not the thinnest thing out there, but for a mid-range device, it's pretty thin. And it feels extremely good in the hand. If you know what the HTC 8X felt like with this soft, rubberized coating on the back, this thing feels really good. And it's 4.3 inches on the screen, 720p display, and it just feels good in the hand. You have to pick one of these things up, and for a mid-range device, it is constructed extremely well, and it fits perfectly in the hand. This device is being powered by a 1.4 GHz Snapdragon 400 processor with the ADRENO 305 graphics, and it's the first device with the Snapdragon 400, and it's dual core. And this screen here, the 720p display, it's Super LCD2, and it is awesome. I mean, the color replication is fantastic, and it could be a little brighter though, but it is extremely sharp for a mid-range device. I don't think you'll be disappointed at all. Now that we touched on the hardware, let's jump right into the software. So Facebook Home is the big deal on this phone, and it's just a custom Android launcher. And on the HTC First, you will get these cool notifications here where you can kind of tap individual ones to open, or you can just hold it down and it will accumulate all of them so you can just get rid of them. But the notification system on here is very nice, and I think a lot of people will appreciate that. And if you just hold your little face icon down there and flick up, you'll go into all your apps. So pretty simple. I mean, there's really not much to this launcher at all, really, and it doesn't really benefit you in any way or make things easier. I think it just makes an extra step for you to go into your actual launcher itself. But when you go into the launcher, you're greeted by something awesome, and that is Android 4.1.1, but it's completely stock. It's a vanilla build of Android. So you're going to get sort of a Nexus experience on this phone that's mid-range, but it also supports 4G LTE on the AT&T network. So this is probably one of the closest things you can get to a Nexus right now, and this device is cheap to get. And it's very snappy too. I mean, it only has 1 GB of RAM, but it works really well. And it's got some funny button placement there, so you have to double tap your home button to get to multitasking. Long button press on the home button and it gets you to Google Now. So all the services are here and ready, and I think you'll like the experience on the HTC First. But the good thing is that if you don't enjoy the Facebook experience, you can just take it right off. It's just the launcher, so you can go straight into the settings and just turn off Facebook Home. And then you have a stock vanilla Android experience without Facebook Home at all. You don't even have to have it on the lock screen or anything. So don't worry about that. You can just wipe it straight off. But for the most part, the Facebook Home experience is very fast. And I think this is exactly how they wanted it to be. It's coded really well. It's very zippy. There's really no lags in it whatsoever. So if you like Facebook and if you like this experience, then I think you're going to like this phone as well. I've used this phone for about a month, and after about a week, I just took the Facebook Home launcher off. But the one thing I did keep is the Chad heads, and these things are awesome, and I really love these. They're pretty much an icon that's just floating above that it just stays there and you can move it wherever you want to, and it just accumulates your MMS, your text messages, and your Facebook messages all into one icon. But it's everywhere, and you do not have to get out of the app that you're in to respond to a text message. And I really like chat heads. I do use chat heads even on my other phones like my HTC One and Galaxy S4, because I just really like the concept of this. Just non-intrusive. It's just right there for you to have. But if you don't want it, you can always just throw it away. You don't have to keep it at all. And that's what I commend HTC and Facebook, I guess more of HTC, for keeping a stock build of Android 4.1, because I really liked using this phone. And I liked having the choice of either having Facebook Home on or off. And I think that this phone is misrepresented in this area. But overall, the system works good. Very responsive. The Snapdragon 400 processor, it has no problems. Even web browsing is pretty good too. Chrome has some issues here and there, but I think that has to do with Chrome too. But the web browsing is pretty good. Sometimes it's not as responsive, and there might be a few hiccups here and there, and I think that's due to the 1 GB of RAM that is on this phone. So you might find some stutters here and there. It's not a perfect experience, but for the most part, it is a very snappy experience due to the stock build of Android 4.1. And even on synthetic benchmarks, it does pretty well. For a free on-contract device, the Snapdragon 400 packs a lot of punches, and even on quadrant standard, it scores over 6,000. That's pretty good compared to other devices that are out there. I know benchmarks on everything, but just wanted to show you that it scores over 6,000 on quadrant. Anyways, let's talk about the most important thing on a mobile device, and that is call quality. This supports the 4G LTE network on AT&T only. There's no other carriers that carry this phone, but overall, I thought that the phone call experience was good. I thought that the earpiece was loud and it was clear. And you can see how weird that earpiece is, though. It's a little long, it's pretty skinny, and you would think it wouldn't come out with some good sound, but it actually comes out with some good sound. It really wasn't the clearest call quality I've heard, though. The speaker piece is loud, and the noise canceling was okay, but the speaker piece was very loud. And actually, overall, this speaker is pretty impressive. You would think it would kind of suck for a mid-range device, but it's actually got some deep tones. It's not the loudest speaker, but it sounds good, and you'll see what I mean when you pick this device up. But overall, the call quality was definitely passable on this device. So the first feature is a 5 megapixel camera. That's kind of low for devices in this category, but it also features the 4.1 stock camera software, so you're not getting a lot of enhancements here, and you don't even get photosphere because you don't have 4.2, but you can see there's an LED flash as well to accompany that 5 megapixel camera, and overall it was decent. And here's the 1080p video. It does support 1080p video, but you can see here it's not the smoothest in frame rate, but it will pass. I think if you're just taking videos for the heck of it and putting them up on Facebook, things like that, it will pass. But it's definitely not the best camera out there, and I don't think it was meant to be. But the color replication is pretty good, and I think the only problem I've had with this is pretty much just the frame rate here. It does stutter sometimes, but the colors are pretty good, as you can see here. It's picking up pretty decent video, but it does stutter. You see that? And that's the problem that I've been having, is the frame rate drops. But overall, I thought that the 5 megapixel camera was okay. You can see it takes pretty decent photographs in daylight, but man, when you get this thing inside, it's just no good. It's just really noisy. It just does not capture good photos. And also, that camera lays flat on the back, so sometimes it gets muddy and fingerprinty, and you make sure that you take that off, because look at how muddy these pictures are. And I took some of these and then realized that it was smudges on the camera lens. So if you want to check out some more samples, please check out my separate 1080p video and samples video on the HTC First. This being a mid-range device, will it play games decently? And it does feature the ADRENO 305 graphics, and this might not be the best graphics chip out there. It's not the ADRENO 320 or anything like that, but it does play games pretty good, and you can see here that it does play pretty good on frame rates. Now, there are some games that stress the GPU more, and you will see that the frame rates aren't as good. And there's some games that aren't supported due to the Snapdragon 400 processor, I think. for some of them you cannot download for the first. But overall, I think the gaming experience is pretty good, and the screen looks really nice. The 720p screen, once again, is very contrasty, it's punchy, the colors are nice, and the speakers are also pretty good too. Listen. So what do I think about the HTC First? I think it's a good device. It's built well, and it's got a really good minimalistic design, and I like this phone, and I love that it had Android 4.1 stock build on there. The glass feels good, the touch response is nice, it supports 4G LTE, it's got a good battery too, by the way. I mean, it doesn't have a big battery, but man, I think it's the Snapdragon 400 working with the smaller screen that lasts me all day. No problems lasting me through a full day. But I think this phone definitely got the bad rep. They made a mistake pricing it for $100 on contract. Now it's free on contract. And it just got branded as that Facebook phone. And it didn't get marketed correctly. And I think it's a good mid-ranger. I think if they just sold it as a mid-range device and gave it free on contract, it would have done a lot better. And I think that this is the closest thing right now that AT&T with 4G LTE connectivity that gives you that Nexus stock experience. But of course, it's not 4.2, but maybe you can get the Galaxy S4 Google Edition and get AT&T LTE. But overall, I think this is a good device. But would I sign a 2-year contract for it? No. But if you can pick it up for cheap somewhere, I would definitely try this phone. If you're looking for a budget phone, then I would get something maybe like a Galaxy S3 that you can get free on contract, but I probably would not pick this phone up because it's probably not going to get any support. So follow me on Twitter at SuperScientific, and please subscribe to my channel so I can see you in the next video.